Welcome to my channel, my friend. Let me ask you something. When people fight over love or money, who usually wins? Do you think money can change people? Can it destroy families? Today, I'll tell you a story. A story about a big house, an old family, and a deep mystery. Someone died, someone lied, and someone wanted more than love. Watch till the end, because this story will not only teach you English, it will teach you about people. Comment below, what do you think matters more, love or money? Chapter 1. The heat of July and a phone call that changed everything. It was the hottest day of the year. The sun stood high in the sky. The air was still, and even the leaves on the trees didn't move. Everything outside looked calm. But inside the house, things were different. The house stood alone, far from the city, close to a quiet river and a small village. It was big, old, and beautiful. There were flowers in the garden, tall trees, and the sound of birds in the distance. But inside the house, one woman was sweating, tired, and thinking. Her name was Jenny. She was tall, strong, and 30 years old. She wore a warm skirt and a yellow shirt, even in the heat. She came in from the garden, walked into the kitchen, and poured herself a glass of water. As soon as she took the first sip, the phone rang. She took a deep breath and answered. Greenhill 1245, Jenny said. There was a short silence. Then a voice came. A voice Jenny knew too well. Jenny, it's me. It's Liza. I need to talk to Mom. Jenny closed her eyes for a second. Mom's not here, she said. She went to see the doctor. There was a pause. Why? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Jenny said quickly. Are you coming this weekend? Mom wants all of us here. Yes, I'm coming. But I need something. I don't have money for the train. Jenny's hand became tight around the phone. Again? You always ask for money. Mom gives you money every time. This call is expensive, Liza said coldly. Just tell Mom I need help. I want to come. Jenny didn't say goodbye. She just put the phone down. She took a cigarette from her bag and lit it. The smoke filled the air. Her face was red with anger. Liza was the youngest sister, just 20 years old. She lived in the city and wanted to be a singer. She had a beautiful voice, yes, but no real job. Always asking, always needing, never giving. Jenny worked hard. Liza only dreamed. Jenny walked back into the kitchen. She started to make sandwiches. She wanted to do something with her hands. She wanted to forget the phone call. But her heart felt heavy. Then the back door opened. A woman walked in. She was tall and graceful, wearing a dark dress and a soft hat. Her name was Ellen. She was the mother. Her face looked tired but kind. Her eyes were strong, deep, and full of stories. It's too hot, Ellen said, taking off her hat. Two black dogs ran into the kitchen after her. They stayed close to her feet. She sat down, placed her hands gently on the dogs' heads, and looked at Jenny. Mom, Jenny said carefully, Liza called. She wants money. Again. Ellen closed her eyes for a long moment. Then she stood up slowly, brushing the dust off her skirt. This afternoon, please get the house ready. And go to the village and get my tablets, okay? Yes, Mom, Jenny said. But she didn't stop there. She looked up. Her voice changed. Mom, wait. Paul Hobbs came here this morning. You know, from across the road. He's very upset about that letter you sent. He lost his job. He said something strange. What did he say? Jenny swallowed. He said he wants to talk to you. He's very angry. And he said something bad. He said he's going to kill you. Ellen did not answer. She didn't look surprised. She didn't look scared. She simply walked out of the room and closed the door behind her. And just like that, the silence came again. The dog stayed. The heat stayed. But something inside Jenny began to change. She didn't know it, but this was not a normal day. This was the day when everything began. The day when a quiet family became a loud story. The day when a phone call brought more than just words. It brought questions. It brought secrets. And soon, it would bring something darker. Because when money is missing, love disappears. And when everyone wants something, someone loses everything. Chapter 2. The Birthday Dinner and a House Full of Secrets. It was Saturday evening. The sky was gold. The wind was soft. Inside the big old house, Jenny stood by the window, looking at the long road that led to the house. A car appeared slowly. It was an old car, moving like it had no hurry. When it stopped, a tall man with white hair got out. He wore a black jacket and walked with care. Jenny sighed. "Uncle Robert," she said quietly. "Always late." She walked to the door and opened it before he could ring the bell. Robert smiled. His face was kind, but tired. 50 years old today," he said to Jenny. "Where does the time go?" He stepped inside and looked for Ellen. She was in the living room, standing tall in a long black dress. The two dogs sat quietly at her feet like guards. Robert walked to her and kissed her hand. "You look beautiful, Ellen." She didn't smile. "We're all getting older," she said. "Let's go into dinner. Everyone is here now." The dining room was warm and full of flowers. The table was long. The food looked perfect. Ellen sat at the head of the table. The others followed. Liza walked in slowly, her red dress shining like fire. Her eyes were dark blue. Her smile was beautiful but sharp. "The table looks lovely, Jenny." "What beautiful flowers." Jenny gave a small smile. She noticed Liza's dress. "Expensive." "No, too new." Jenny remembered the phone call, the one asking for money. And now this dress. Uncle Robert sat next to David, Ellen's son. David was Ellen's second child, living in the city in a big house with big dreams. Robert turned to him. "Someone stopped me on the road." Angry young man. "What's his name?" "Paul Hobbs," Jenny said quickly before Ellen could speak. "He's from the house across the road. He lost his job last week. He's angry at everyone." "No," Robert said. "He's angry at Ellen." Ellen didn't say a word. She cut her meat and ate in silence. David looked across the table. "How's Aunt Claire?" he asked. Robert's face turned sad. "Worse. She stays in bed all day now. We need a nurse. All day. All night. It's very hard." Ellen looked up, her voice soft. "I'm sorry to hear that." Robert put down his fork. "She misses you, you know. You are her little sister. She asks for you." Ellen blinked slowly. "I know, but I am 50 now, and still her little sister. We can talk about this later." "Later," Robert said with a sad laugh. "With you, it's always later. Never today." Jenny watched her mother. Her mother didn't like talking about Aunt Claire. She never liked going to visit her. The sadness was too much. Jenny turned to Liza. "That's a beautiful dress. Is it new?" Liza smiled brightly. "Thank you. Yes, I bought it on Wednesday. Very expensive." Jenny's heart jumped. Wednesday? That was 2 days before the phone call. "You always have expensive things," she said quietly. "I don't like cheap things," Liza said, brushing her long hair. "And I'll need more money soon. I want to go to America. David, can you help me?" David didn't smile. "No, none of us can help you, Liza. You don't want to work. You dream. But we work. We have jobs. We have bills. Liza laughed like it was a joke. It doesn't matter. I don't need you. Mom helps me. She loves me the most. The room fell quiet. Liza smiled, but her eyes were cold. Jenny looked at her mother. Ellen's face was pale. She said nothing. But Jenny saw something in her eyes: fear, pain. Why was she afraid of Liza? Jenny tried to change the subject. Uncle Robert, would you like more meat? David, pour everyone more wine, please. David stood and poured the wine. Good bottle, he said. Ellen smiled, for the first time. Yes, your father loved this wine. Robert nodded. Expensive, too. Jenny leaned forward. David, would you like to meet the new man working at the farm? Mr. Blake. He wants to talk with you. Before David could answer, Ellen sat straight. Blake? Don't talk to me about that man. He wants part of my garden. He says he needs land. I say no. He's always dirty. And his teeth are terrible. Jenny looked down. I just thought. Ellen cut her off. And you, always smoking. Cigarettes in your mouth all the time. You think I like that? Jenny stood up slowly and took her bag. She lit a cigarette and said nothing. She didn't want to fight. She just wanted peace. But tonight, it was impossible. David looked at his glass. Mom, maybe Blake is right. The garden is big. Too much work. This house is big, too. You're 50 now. Maybe it's time to take care of yourself. Ellen's voice was sharp. I don't need a nurse. I work in the garden every day. I'm strong. But I know why you say this. You all want my money. You come for dinner, but you don't care. You don't love me. You want my house. You want everything. But you will wait. I'm not giving you 1 penny. Not before I die. Don't say that, Mom. Jenny cried. But Ellen was already standing. I feel ill. I'm going to bed. She walked out. The door closed behind her. Silence. Then Liza whispered, one day, I'm going to kill that woman. David looked at her. He said nothing. Robert shook his head. She's not ill. She's angry. She was always angry about money. Why can't she be kind to her sister? Claire is dying. Ellen knows that. Jenny put out her cigarette. Would anyone like coffee? Let's go to the kitchen. They followed her quietly. But nobody spoke. The birthday had turned cold. The house was dark. Something had changed. And no one knew that it was only the beginning. Chapter 3. A quiet morning and a loud cry. The next morning came quietly. The sun rose slowly over the fields. The trees stood still, and the house looked peaceful. It was early, just before 7. No one was awake. The dinner last night was not easy. Too many things were said. Too many hearts were hurt. Everyone went to bed angry or tired. But now, the house was silent. Until one sound changed everything. It was a scream, a cry, a high, loud voice from upstairs. David opened his eyes fast. His heart beat quickly. He looked at the clock beside his bed. Just before 7. He jumped out of bed and opened the door. At the same moment, another door opened, the door of his mother's room. Liza stood there, her face white like paper, her hands shaking. David, she shouted. It's Mom. I brought her some coffee. But she's not moving. She's dead. She's dead. David ran past her and into the room. The window was open, and the wind moved the curtains softly. The room was warm, but the feeling inside was cold. Ellen lay on the bed, one hand under her head. Her eyes were closed. Her face was calm, too calm. He walked closer. On the small table beside the bed, there were 2 cups, one empty, one full. The air smelled like warm milk and coffee. David touched her arm. Cold. No movement. No breath. He looked back at Liza. She's dead, he said slowly. His voice was flat. His eyes were lost. I'm calling the doctor, Liza said, turning to Ron. Wait, David called. Let's tell the others first. But Liza didn't wait. Nobody cared about her, she shouted as she ran downstairs. Nobody loved her. David followed her down. She stood by the telephone, hands shaking. She dialed the number fast. Dr. Rowe, this is Liza Hart. It's my mother. She's dead. Please come quickly. She hung up. Then she turned and looked at David. Her eyes were full of tears. It's not real, she said. It's not real. Dad died last winter. And now, Mom, she can't be gone. Don't cry, David said. But his voice had no feeling. Let's go upstairs and tell Uncle Robert and Jenny. No, Liza said sharply. You tell them. You didn't love her. You're not even sad. You just want her money. David's hands turned into fists. Be quiet, he shouted. What about you? You always took money from her. You didn't care. You only loved her money. Liza's eyes grew wide. Then, slowly, she looked away. It's true, she whispered. Oh God, it's true. I can't stay here. I'm going to the river. I'll take the dogs. No, David said. The doctor is coming. Stay here. But Liza didn't answer. She walked into the kitchen. The two big black dogs followed her. Beautiful dogs, she whispered, touching their heads. Dad loved you. Mom loved you. Now I will love you. She opened the back door. The dogs ran ahead. She followed slowly. David stood by the phone. His hand touched the table. He didn't move. He stared at the floor. It's true, he thought. I needed money. I lost my job. I have a house. I have a car. I have a life, but no money. Now Mom is dead. I'm rich. But why do I feel sick inside? He walked upstairs again. The air felt heavier now. Dr. Rowe arrived 20 minutes later. He was a small man with little hair. He had been their doctor for many years. He didn't need directions. He walked straight to Ellen's room. He looked at the body, then at the cups beside the bed, then at the open window. He touched Ellen's wrist. He looked at her eyes. He looked again at the empty cup. He said nothing for a long time. I'm sorry, he said finally. Where's Liza? She called me. She went out with the dogs, David said. She was angry. Angry at me. Angry at everything. Dr. Rowe still said nothing. Then, slowly he stood. This is strange, he said. Strange. David repeated. Yes. Your mother wasn't sick. I saw her on Thursday. She was fine. Why did she die? David looked down. I don't know. I want to find out, Dr. Rowe said. I'm going to call the police. David's head turned fast. The police? What? Dr. Rowe looked at the empty cup again. Your mother took sleeping tablets. She got a new bottle on Thursday, but I don't see it in the room. David blinked. I didn't know about the tablets. Dr. Rowe nodded. Let's go downstairs. I'll call the police from there. They walked into the kitchen. The air was warmer. The coffee machine was ready. David poured 2 cups. Just then, the back door opened. Liza stepped inside, her dress wet with river mist. David, she said quietly, I'm sorry. I said bad things. I was angry. It doesn't matter, David said. Here, take some coffee. Dr. Rowe called the police. Did you know Mom took sleeping pills? The bottle is missing. What? Liza asked. She took the cup. Her hands shook. Dr. Rowe came in. They're coming soon, he said. I'm sorry, Liza. I want to say something, Liza began. Last night, everyone was angry. Stop, David said quickly. Don't speak. He looked at her with hard eyes. Inside, he was shaking. She always talks too much, he thought. She's going to ruin everything. Liza didn't stop. Last night, Mom left dinner early. She was upset. Dr. Rowe held up his hand. Please save it. Tell the police. David's face turned red. He felt cold. The police will ask everything. They will ask everyone. And they'll want answers. He took a deep breath. I'm going upstairs, he said. I have to tell Uncle Robert and Jenny that Mom is gone, and that the police are coming. The house was no longer quiet. The cry from the morning still echoed in the walls. A mother was dead, but the real story, the one behind the silence, was just beginning. Chapter 4. Police at the door and questions begin. The sun was high in the sky now. It was Sunday, but not a normal Sunday. The garden outside looked peaceful. Flowers stood tall. Birds sang softly. But inside the house, something heavy was in the air. Ellen was gone. The mother was dead. And now, the police had arrived. Many of them. Too many. Some officers had cameras. They went upstairs to Ellen's bedroom. They moved slowly, quietly. They took pictures of everything. The cups on the table, the bed, the window, the hands, the eyes. No detail was too small. Two other men, dressed in black suits, walked into the kitchen. One of them was tall and thin. The other was big and round. They did not smile. Their shoes made sharp sounds on the wooden floor. In the sitting room, the family waited. Jenny sat on the sofa with a cigarette in her hand. She didn't speak. David stood near the window, arms crossed. Liza sat on the floor, her hand resting on one of the dogs. The dogs did not bark. They were too calm, too still. Even they felt something strange. The room was warm. The windows were open. But no one moved. Time felt frozen. Then the door opened. The two men stepped in. The big one spoke. Good morning. I am Inspector West. This is Sergeant Lewis. We are here because your mother's death is not normal. She had sleeping pills in her hot milk. That's not usual. Someone put them there. We must ask questions. We need one quiet room. David stood up fast. You can use my father's old office. Follow me. They walked through the hall to a small room with a table and a few chairs. There was a window that looked out over the garden. David opened it and left. Sergeant Lewis stood by the door. He was young, tall, with short black hair. He looked like someone who smiled often, but not today. He kept looking at his watch. He had plans, maybe, but this case was bigger now. Inspector West took off his coat and hat. He sat at the table. His face was calm but serious. Let's begin, he said. Call Robert Hart first. Soon, Robert walked in. He looked tired. He sat down slowly, looking down at his feet. I will ask questions, said the inspector. The sergeant will write everything. Robert nodded. Yes, I understand. It's your job. What happened last night? The inspector asked. Robert looked up. Everyone was angry. It was Ellen's birthday. But no one was happy. Liza wanted money. David wanted to sell the house. Ellen said no. Then that man Blake. He wants the garden. But Ellen didn't like him. And me? My wife is very sick. Ellen's sister. We need help. I asked Ellen for money. She said no. What did you do next? I was tired. I went to bed. I did go to her room before that. I asked again for money. She said no again. Did you hear anything later? I think I heard people walking. Maybe going to her room. Maybe going downstairs. I don't know. It was late. Thank you, Mr. Hart. That's all for now. Robert left. The inspector leaned back in his chair. Interesting. So many people angry with one woman. Call Jenny next. Jenny walked in. She was calm. Her hands were closed tight. She sat down slowly. "We found the empty pill bottle in Liza's room," the inspector said. Then he looked at her. Jenny did not move. Her face stayed the same. She didn't blink. "Where did your mother get her tablets?" "From the village. Sometimes I got them. On Thursday, I asked Paul Hobbs to get them. He lives across the road. He was going to the shop anyway. Did you want to stay in this house?" Jenny looked at the wall. "This is Mother's house. I lived here with her. I helped her. Did you see her last night?" "Yes. We all did. Liza brought her milk. We said good night. Then Mom said she forgot the dogs. She went downstairs. I went to my room." "What time was that?" "Maybe midnight. I'm not sure." "Did you see the cup on the table?" Jenny nodded. "It was there this morning." The inspector sat quietly. Then he asked, "Did you need money?" Jenny lit a cigarette. Her hands were steady. "Money is not everything," she said. "Others needed money. Your uncle, David, Liza, but not you." Jenny looked up. Her eyes changed. "Don't forget Paul Hobbs. He said he wanted to kill my mother. And Blake, the farmer. And Liza, you found the bottle in her bag, didn't you?" The inspector leaned forward. "We said we found it in her room. You said bag." "What?" Jenny said nothing. Then she smiled, just a little. "Would you like coffee?" The inspector nodded. "Yes, please. Sandwich too." Jenny left the room. The inspector sat back in his chair. "She's clever," he whispered. "But she said something wrong. Something she shouldn't know." Sergeant Lewis nodded. "It's getting interesting." "Let's see David next," said the inspector. "He's the son. The one who wants to build houses here." The garden outside looked calm. But inside, the storm was just beginning. Love or money, someone had chosen. And someone had died. Chapter 5. The Uncle with a Heavy Heart. Uncle Robert came back into the office. This time he looked more tired than before. He walked slowly, his back slightly bent. His hands were in his pockets. His shoes made no sound. He sat down and looked at the floor. His eyes didn't move. His mouth stayed closed for a long time. The room felt colder now. Inspector West sat across from him, hands folded on the table. He didn't speak right away. He waited. He watched. "Mr. Hart," the inspector said softly. "Let's talk again. This time I want more details. Please tell me more about Ellen. And tell me more about that night." Robert looked up, his face full of years. "Ellen was difficult," he said. "She was strong. She was proud. She didn't like help, but she also didn't like giving help. She didn't believe in easy money, even for family." "Did she love you?" Robert paused. "I don't know. Maybe yes. Maybe no. But I do know this. She didn't love my wife. Claire. Her sister. Yes. Her older sister. Claire is sick now. Very sick. She can't walk. She can't eat without help. She stays in bed all day. And I stay beside her. We can't pay for nurses anymore. So I asked Ellen. I asked her again and again. But she said no." "Why do you think she said no?" "Because she thought Claire was weak. She always thought that. Even as children. Ellen thought strong people must suffer alone. She didn't like weakness. She didn't want to see her sister like that." "Did you ask her on Saturday night?" "Yes. One last time. I said, 'Please, Ellen. Just a little help.' She looked at me with cold eyes. She said, 'You can manage. You always do.' Then she went upstairs." "What did you do?" "I drank a little wine. I sat in the kitchen. I looked at my hands. I thought about my life. I thought about Claire in bed, calling my name every hour. I felt tired. So I went to bed." Did you hear anything? Yes, Robert said slowly. I heard voices. People saying good night. I think David was speaking. I think Jenny was near her room. Then I heard steps again, later. One person. Going downstairs. What time was that? I don't know. Midnight maybe. I didn't look at the clock. Did you go back to sleep? No, he whispered. I just lay there. Thinking. About life. About death. About Ellen. I thought, maybe this is the last time I see her. I was right. The inspector nodded. Thank you, Mr. Hart. One more question. Did you ever think, even for 1 second, about hurting her? Robert looked up slowly. His eyes filled with water. No. I thought about shaking her. I thought about shouting. But no, I couldn't hurt her. She was cold to me. But she was still family. She was still Ellen. The inspector gave a slow nod. Thank you. You can go now. Robert stood up. His back looked heavier now. As he walked out, his steps were slow. He passed by Jenny in the hallway and said nothing. Jenny didn't look at him. No one did. The whole house was quiet again. The inspector leaned back in his chair. He looked at the ceiling. He's telling the truth, he said. Sergeant Lewis wrote something down. Then who's lying? The inspector stood. Call Jenny again. I'm not finished with her. There's something behind her words. Something broken. The sergeant nodded. He walked to the hallway to call her back. In the sitting room, Robert returned to his chair. He poured a glass of water with shaking hands. Liza looked at him. Her voice was quiet. Uncle, are you okay? He looked at her. I loved your mother, you know. But love can get tired too. Liza looked away. The dogs lay at her feet. One of them gave a small cry. Upstairs, the door to Ellen's room was closed. No one went in. But her presence was still there, like a shadow. Like a memory no one could forget. Downstairs, the questions continued. The inspector knew that this case was not simple. There was no blood, no weapon, no noise. Just one quiet woman in her bed and a bottle of missing pills. But the truth always finds a crack to come through. And someone, maybe Jenny, maybe not, had started to crack. Chapter 6. The Daughter Who Loved Order. Jenny sat down in the small office again. The room was warm, but her hands felt cold. She looked calm on the outside. Her face was still, her eyes quiet. But inside, something moved. Something was not calm. The inspector looked at her carefully. She didn't meet his eyes. She stared at the wall. At nothing. Inspector West folded his hands on the table. Thank you for coming back, Miss Hart. We are just going to go a little deeper this time. Jenny nodded. That's fine. You lived here with your mother, yes? Yes. I lived here. I helped her with the house. With the garden. With everything. And how was your relationship with her? Jenny gave a small smile. It was respectful. Respectful. She was not soft. She liked things done her way. I followed her rules. The inspector leaned forward. You didn't feel angry with her? Jenny lit a cigarette slowly. Her hands were steady. She blew the smoke out gently. No, I didn't feel angry. I felt tired. Tired. Yes. I cleaned the house. I cooked the food. I listened to the problems of my brother and sister. I watched people take money from her. I saw her say no to everyone. But still they came. Every week. Every month. And I stayed. She gave you nothing? Jenny looked down. She gave me a room. A bed. Some food. And love. Jenny didn't answer. She looked out the window. Her eyes were glassy. She loved Liza. She smiled at Liza. She gave money to Liza. She protected her. Even when she was wrong. Tell me about Saturday night. Jenny's voice came back. Come again. We had dinner. It was cold, not in the food, but in the room. Liza talked too much. David talked too much. Uncle Robert asked for money. Mom said no to everyone. Then she got angry. She went upstairs. Then what? We went to the kitchen. I made coffee. David poured wine. Liza cried about something. I don't even remember. Did you see your mother again? Yes. I went to say good night. We all did. Liza made the milk. She took it to Mom's room. Did you go in with her? No. I went later. To say good night. What did your mother say? Jenny blinked. She remembered the dogs. She forgot to feed them. She said she'd go down to the kitchen. Then I went to my room. What time was that? Jenny thought. Maybe midnight. I don't remember exactly. Inspector West leaned in. You said something earlier. Something we didn't tell you. Jenny looked at him. What do you mean? You said we found the empty pill bottle in Liza's bag. Yes, that's what you said. The inspector shook his head gently. No, we said we found it in her room. You said bag. That's different. What? Jenny blinked. For the first time, her hands moved. Just a little. I must have misunderstood. Maybe. Or maybe you knew it was in her bag. Jenny didn't answer. She took a deep breath. You think I did something. I think you're quiet, the inspector said. Very quiet. Too quiet. Jenny looked at the inspector now. Her eyes were sharp. Do you think quiet people are dangerous? I think quiet people carry heavy things. There was silence in the room. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall. The inspector leaned back. Tell me about Blake. The man from the farm. Jenny's voice dropped. He wants part of the garden. Mom said no. He came to talk to David. Not me. But years ago, he worked here. As a gardener, yes? Jenny didn't move. Did you know him well? Jenny's voice was small now. That was a long time ago. Did your mother approve? No, Jenny said quickly. She said no. She always said no. The inspector nodded. That must have hurt. Jenny said nothing. I'm going to ask Liza to come in next, the inspector said softly. Thank you. Jenny stood up. She didn't look angry. She didn't look sad. She just looked tired. Very tired. As she left the room, Sergeant Lewis looked at the inspector. She made a mistake. The inspector nodded. Yes, and it's the kind of mistake that comes from knowing too much. Down the hall, Jenny walked past the sitting room. Liza looked up at her. Their eyes met for a second. Nothing was said, but everything was understood. And in that quiet second, the real game began. Because Jenny was the daughter who loved order. The daughter who stayed. The daughter who watched. The daughter who remembered everything. And maybe, just maybe, the daughter who planned everything, too. Chapter 7. The son with big dreams and no job. David sat down in the small office. His shoulders were straight, but his face looked tired. He tried to stay calm. He wanted to look strong, but something in his eyes showed fear. He looked around the room quickly, as if trying to understand how much the police already knew. He didn't want to make a mistake, but his hands kept moving. His foot tapped the floor. Inside, he was not calm at all. Inspector West sat on the other side of the table. He looked at David quietly. He didn't speak at first. He just waited. He wanted to see what David would do. David looked back at him and gave a short smile. You're the son, the inspector said at last. You're the one who wanted to sell the house. David nodded. Yes. This house is too big. Too old. My mother lived here alone for years. She worked hard, but it was too much. I wanted her to live somewhere easier. Somewhere smaller? Yes. A place with less garden, less cleaning, fewer stairs. And what would happen to this house? David didn't look at the inspector. He looked at the window. I had an idea. A plan. I talked to a friend who works in property. We thought we could build 10 small homes here. A little community. Families could live here. A business plan? Yes, David said. It would make good money. And the area is nice. Close to the river. A peaceful place. People would want to live here. The inspector nodded slowly. So you needed your mother to sell the house? Yes. She owned everything. I couldn't do anything without her. And what did she say? David smiled, but it was a tired smile. She said no. Again and again. She said this house was her home. That she loved the garden. That my father built this place. That she would never sell. And how did that make you feel? David looked down at the table. It made me feel trapped. Like my future was stuck. I have no job right now. I lost it last month. My bills are growing. My car needs work. But my mom didn't want to help. She said I should be strong, like she was. But times are different now. It's not so easy. Did you ask her for money? I didn't ask directly. I talked about the house. About the plan. About what we could do. I tried to show her the big picture. But she didn't listen. She never really listened to me. So you went to her room that night? Yes. I went to say good night. And did you talk about the house again? David hesitated. Then he nodded. Yes. I asked again. One last time. I told her I needed help. She said no. She said it was her house. And she said something else. What? She said, you will understand when I'm gone. I didn't know what that meant. I thought maybe she was tired. But now, the inspector leaned forward. Did you put anything in her milk? David's eyes grew wide. No, I didn't make the milk. Liza did. We were all in the kitchen. She took it to Mom. You didn't touch it? No, I didn't even see it. You know we found the empty pill bottle in Liza's room. David nodded slowly. Yes, but I don't believe she did it. Why? David looked confused. Because Liza is too loud. She's dramatic. She says too much. But she doesn't do things. She always talks about what she wants. But she doesn't make plans. I don't think she has it in her to do something like that. Interesting. Then who do you think could do something like that? David looked down. I don't know. Uncle Robert needed money. Jenny was always quiet. Too quiet. And Paul Hobbs was angry. And you? David looked up. I didn't want to hurt my mother. I just wanted her to help me. I just wanted a way to start again. A chance to build something for myself. The inspector stood. He walked to the window. Outside, the sun was shining on the trees. Birds flew across the sky. The garden looked peaceful. But peace can be a lie. Sometimes peace hides pain. Sometimes silence hides the truth. You lost your job, the inspector said. You didn't tell your family. No, I didn't want them to know. I didn't want to look weak. You live in a big house in the city. You have a nice car. A good life from the outside. David nodded. Yes, but it's not real. It's all on loan. I have debt. I needed help. And now your mother is dead. And you're going to be rich. David's face turned red. Don't say that. It's the truth, isn't it? You needed her to say yes. But now, with her gone, the house is yours. The land is yours. The dream can begin. David stood up quickly. I didn't kill her. I didn't even touch the milk. I just wanted her to understand. The inspector stayed calm. Maybe you didn't. But maybe someone else did, to help you. Or maybe to help themselves. David breathed hard. His hands were shaking. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. The inspector watched him. But maybe deep inside you did. David didn't answer. He left the room without looking back. In the hallway, he passed Jenny. Their eyes met. No words. Just a moment. A strange moment. Full of questions. Full of silence. The inspector looked at Sergeant Lewis. He's hiding something. Do you think he did it? I don't know, the inspector said. But I know this. He wanted the house. And now he has it. Outside, the birds still sang. The trees still stood. But inside the house, everything had changed. A mother was dead, and the dream of a son had finally come true. But at what cost? Chapter 8. The Angry Girl with a Sad Story. Liza sat down in the office chair slowly. Her red dress moved gently as she crossed her legs. She didn't look nervous. Not like David. Not like Robert. Her face was calm. Too calm. She smiled at Sergeant Lewis for a second. He looked away, trying to stay professional. But her eyes stayed on him for one moment longer. Then she turned to Inspector West and waited. She leaned back like she was ready for a game. But the inspector didn't smile. He didn't play games. He only asked questions. And this time, he was ready for her. "Miss Hart," the inspector said, his voice even and slow, "you said you found your mother's body this morning. You brought her coffee, and she was already gone. Is that right?" "Yes," Liza said with a small nod. "I wanted to be kind. So I made coffee early. I thought it would make her happy. I opened the door, and I saw her, just lying there." "Were you the first person to see her?" "Yes," she said. I screamed. David came after. "Did you touch anything in the room?" "No," she said quickly. I just looked at her. I was in shock. Her hand was under her head. She looked so peaceful. Too peaceful. The inspector looked at his notebook. "Tell me more about last night. From your point of view." Liza's smile returned. "We had dinner. It was a special night. Mom's birthday. But everyone was cold. Nobody was happy. Uncle Robert needed money. David talked about selling the house again. Jenny sat quietly, like always. Then Mom shouted. She said we all wanted her money. And she went to bed early." The inspector nodded. "And you made her milk?" "Yes. She always had warm milk before bed. I made it. I took it upstairs. I left it by the bed." "Did you see her drink it?" "No. She was brushing her hair. She didn't speak to me. I just left the cup and walked out. And then I went back to the kitchen. Paul Hobbs came. He was shouting. Angry. Very angry. He said Mom destroyed his job. He hit the door. We let him in. He said he wanted to kill her." The inspector raised his eyebrows. "That's a strong word. But it's what he said," Liza replied. "He said, 'I want to kill that woman.' I remember it clearly." "Who else was in the kitchen?" "Everyone. Jenny, David, Uncle Robert. Then Mr. Blake came too. He wanted to talk to David about the garden. The kitchen was full of people." "Did your mother come down again?" Liza shook her head. "No. But Jenny said she might. Something about feeding the dogs." The inspector looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke slowly. "We found the empty bottle of your mother's sleeping pills in your room." Liza froze. For the first time, she didn't smile. She blinked. "What? In your room? In your dresser drawer? Hidden under clothes?" "No," she said, standing up. "I didn't put it there. I don't even know what the bottle looks like." "Then how did it get there?" "I don't know," she said. Her voice was shaking now. "I don't know. Did you know your mother was taking pills to sleep?" "Yes. Everyone knew. She always said she couldn't sleep without them." "Did she talk to you about stopping?" Liza looked away. "Yes," she said. "She said she was tired of being tired. She wanted to live without pills." The inspector nodded. "Tell me something, Liza. Did you love your mother?" Liza's hands started to shake. That's a strange question. It's an important question. She took a deep breath. Then her words came faster. I don't know. I wanted to love her. But she never really loved me. She gave me money, yes. But not warmth. Not kindness. She always looked at me like I was a problem. Like I was weak. Like I was too much. The inspector waited. Liza continued. After Dad died, she got worse. She blamed me for everything. But she was the one who crashed the car. She was driving. He died. She lived. And still she acted like the victim. You think she killed your father? I don't know. But I know she didn't cry when he died. I did. I cried for days. And she just said, "Don't be soft." The inspector's voice was lower now. So you hated her? No, Liza said softly. I wanted to hate her. But I couldn't. Because I still wanted her love. I kept going back. Asking for help. Asking for money. I told her I wanted to go to America. I said it over and over. She always gave something. But not enough. She never really believed in me. And now, she's gone, Liza whispered. And I feel empty. The room was quiet. Even the birds outside seemed to stop. The inspector looked at her with calm eyes. You said something else earlier. What? You said that Jackie had a boyfriend. A gardener. Years ago. And that your mother didn't allow it. Yes. Jackie loved him. I remember. She smiled in those days. But Mom said no. She said he wasn't good enough. Jackie cried for weeks. Do you think Jackie was angry about that? I think Jackie keeps everything inside. She doesn't talk. But she doesn't forget. The inspector stood up. He walked around the room slowly. Then he stopped. You are full of stories, Miss Hart. But some of them are true. And some of them are just noise. I don't know which one this is yet. Liza sat down again. Her face was pale. I didn't kill her. I wanted to. But I didn't. That's a big thing to say. I fought it. I felt it. But I couldn't do it. Not with my own hands. The inspector opened the door. Thank you. That's all for now. Liza stood up. But before leaving, she turned to Sergeant Lewis. She gave him a soft smile again. You're kind, she said. Be careful. In this house, kindness is dangerous. Then she walked out. The inspector looked at his notes. Then he looked at the sergeant. She's not the killer. But she knows something. The sergeant nodded. They all do. The inspector took a deep breath. And soon, someone's mask will break. Chapter 9. The Boy Who Wanted Revenge. The air outside the house was hot and heavy. The sky looked blue, but something dark was hanging over the land. The house was quiet now, but not peaceful. Everyone inside knew the truth was getting closer. One by one, secrets were being pulled out like old boxes from the attic. And now, it was time to speak with the boy from across the road. The boy who had lost more than just a job. The boy who once looked harmless, but who had shouted the loudest words of all. I'll kill her. His name was Paul. Paul Hobbs. 17 years old. Thin arms, angry eyes. That morning, he was under his old green car when the police arrived. His face was dirty, and his hands were covered in oil. When he stood up, he didn't smile. He didn't look surprised. It was like he was waiting for this visit. Maybe he was. Inspector West stood in front of him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't show anger. He just looked at Paul like a teacher waiting for the truth from a student who always caused trouble. Sergeant Lewis stood behind the inspector, notebook in hand. We're here about Mrs. Hart, the inspector said. You know she's dead? Yes, Paul said, wiping his hands on his shirt. People in the village are already talking. Someone said it this morning. You were at the house last night. the inspector said. Why? Paul laughed once, without humor. Because Jackie told me to come. She said I was angry, and I should speak to her brother David. So I did. What were you angry about? Paul's eyes changed. His face became tight. I lost my job. I worked hard. It was my first job. My mother was proud. Then your precious Mrs. Hart writes a letter to my boss. She told him I had trouble with the police. Small things. But she made it sound big. She said I was dangerous. My boss fired me the next day. No questions. Just gone. So you blamed her? I didn't blame her. I knew it was her. She told me herself. She said, I won't let boys like you grow wild near my house. And then you said you wanted to kill her? Paul looked straight at the inspector. Yes, I said that. I was angry. I had no job. No money. My mother was crying every night. I was angry. But I didn't do anything. Tell me what happened at the house. Paul looked away for a moment. Then he spoke again. I knocked. No one opened the door. I knocked again. Then I started hitting it. Then they opened it. I walked in. The kitchen was full of people. Jenny, David, Liza, the uncle. Even Blake from the farm came in later. What did you say? I told them everything. I said what she did to me. I said I wanted to kill her. But I said it like you say things when you're hurt. Not because you plan to do it. Did you see Mrs. Hart that night? No. She wasn't there. They said she was already in bed. I stayed for 5 minutes. Jenny gave me coffee. Then I left. Did you see any milk? Any pills? No. On Thursday, you picked up sleeping tablets from the village pharmacy for Mrs. Hart. Yes. Jackie asked me. I ride my bike to the village most days. I picked them up. I gave them to her. You gave the pills to Jackie? Yes. She took them and said nothing. The inspector was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Paul, do you know what revenge looks like? Paul didn't answer. It looks like a quiet room. A cup of milk. A woman asleep forever. I didn't kill her, Paul said. His voice was louder now. I hated her. Yes. But I didn't go up to her room. I didn't touch anything. We found the empty pill bottle in Liza's room. I didn't go near Liza's room either. Who do you think did it? Paul shook his head. I don't know. But I know one thing. Someone used me. They wanted me to come. They wanted me to be loud. So later, when she was dead, they could say, oh, it was Paul. He said he wanted to kill her. The inspector raised an eyebrow. You think it was a setup? I know it was, Paul said. Someone planned everything. And they used me as a tool. Do you think that someone was Jackie? Paul looked down. I think Jackie is clever. And quiet. And she knows everything that happens in that house. So yes, maybe it was her. The inspector wrote something down. Do you still want revenge? Paul shook his head. No. I just want the truth. I want people to stop looking at me like I'm dangerous. I lost my job. I lost my name. I don't want to lose my future, too. The inspector nodded. That's all for now. Paul turned away and walked back to his car. He didn't say goodbye. He lay down again under the engine, covered in grease, hiding from the sun. But nothing could hide from the truth anymore. As the inspectors walked away, Sergeant Lewis whispered, He's right, isn't he? Someone used him. Yes, Inspector West said. And we're getting closer to finding out who. They looked at the house in the distance. Big, beautiful, deadly. Inside that house, someone had used anger like a mask. Someone had used Paul's pain like a weapon. Someone had made sure Paul said the words, so they could do the deed. And now, the words were chasing them back. The dogs in the garden barked once and fell silent. The garden was still green, the sun still warm, But the truth was coming, and someone in that house was about to break. Chapter 10. The Farmer with a Broken Smile. The road to the farm was dry and quiet. The grass on both sides moved gently in the wind. The air smelled like soil and smoke. The sun was high above, but the light felt dull, as if it didn't want to shine on what was about to be discovered. The farmhouse stood near the river, old and tired. It leaned slightly to one side, like it carried too many memories. The wooden steps creaked as Inspector West and Sergeant Lewis climbed them. They didn't knock. They didn't need to. The door was open. Inside, a man was eating his lunch. His hands were dirty, his nails black with soil. His shirt was stained with oil, and his face looked older than his years. This was Tom Blake, the farmer who had once smiled at Jenny like she was the world, and who now wanted half of Ellen's garden to save his land. Tom looked up when the officers walked in. He didn't stand. He didn't welcome them. He simply wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and pushed his plate away. He knew why they were here. Everyone knew by now. So, Tom said, his voice low, "She's dead, isn't she?" Inspector West nodded once. "You heard already?" Tom nodded too. The village speaks fast. News travels quicker than a storm. "We need to ask you a few questions, Mr. Blake." Tom stood slowly and walked to the front room. The walls were bare. The chairs were old. On a small table, there was one black and white photo in a wooden frame. It showed a young girl with long brown hair. She was smiling, her hands full of flowers. The inspector stopped beside it. "Who's this?" he asked quietly. Tom didn't answer right away. He looked out the window. Then he turned his eyes back to the inspector. It was a long time ago. The inspector said nothing. He waited. Tom sat down and took a deep breath. "That's Jenny. When we were younger, she used to come here. Help me plant. Help me fix things. She loved the land. She loved the quiet. And I loved her. I think she loved me too. But it wasn't allowed. Not in her family. Why not? Because I was just a gardener. A worker. And she was Ellen's daughter. Ellen said no. That was the end of it. Jenny didn't speak for weeks after that. And then one day, she stopped coming." The inspector looked at the photo again. The girl in it had a joy that wasn't in her face anymore. Something had been taken from her, even back then. "Let's talk about last night," the inspector said. Tom's voice was calm. "I went to the house. I wanted to speak with David. He promised to help me get the land. I need more land for my crops. My farm is dying. I can't survive with what I have." "Did Mrs. Hart know?" "Oh yes," Tom said. "She knew. She told me many times. No, no, and no. She didn't want her garden touched. She said it was the one place that was still hers. She didn't care about my problems." "What happened when you arrived?" "I walked in. The door was open. The kitchen was full. Everyone was there. Robert, Jenny, David, Liza. Even Paul was there, shouting like a mad boy. I waited. Then I spoke with David. He said nothing useful. He just gave me wine and walked away." "Did anyone seem different?" Tom thought for a moment. Liza looked tired, like she'd been crying. David was drinking too much. Jenny was very quiet. She made sandwiches. Then she walked out. "Did she speak to you?" "No, but she looked at me. Just once. And it was a strange look. Not angry. Not sad. Just tired. Like she was saying goodbye." The inspector looked at the photo again. "Do you still love her?" Tom closed his eyes. "You don't stop loving someone just because time passes. But I stopped hoping a long time ago. When someone tells you again and again you're not enough, you start to believe it. You wanted the garden. You wanted Jenny. Your life could have been different if Ellen had said yes. Tom's voice was heavy now. Yes, I dreamed of a small life with her. A quiet home. A family. But I'm just a farmer. And Ellen didn't think I was good enough. She said it with her eyes every time I stepped inside that house. Did you go upstairs last night? No. I never went past the kitchen. Jenny wouldn't let me. Did you see any pills, milk, cups? No. I drank wine. I ate a sandwich. That's all. The inspector walked toward the door. But he turned back one last time. Tell me, Mr. Blake, if Jenny asked you to help her, if she asked you to do something, even something bad, would you do it? Tom looked up slowly. His voice cracked. If she asked me to lie, maybe. If she asked me to run away, maybe. But to kill her own mother? No, I wouldn't do that. Not even for Jenny. The inspector nodded. That's all. As they left the house, the wind picked up outside. The grass danced. The leaves on the trees made soft sounds. Sergeant Lewis looked back once. He saw Tom standing by the window, staring at the field. He loved her, Lewis said softly. Yes, the inspector said. And love can turn into pain. And pain can turn into silence. The farmhouse became smaller behind them as they walked away. The clouds in the sky began to grow. Something heavy was coming. Something close. The truth was almost ready. And the house, that beautiful old house, was waiting. Because now the picture was clear. Now the lines were connected. And someone inside that house was about to be revealed. Chapter 11. The Truth Comes Out. The sky had changed by the time Inspector West and Sergeant Lewis returned to the house. The clouds were thicker now. The sun had gone behind them, and the wind began to carry a colder feeling. It was late afternoon, but the day felt heavier, as if it had been carrying the weight of many people's secrets. Inside the house, everything was quiet again. Too quiet. The family was waiting. Waiting for answers. Waiting for the moment when all the questions would finally meet the truth. Inspector West asked everyone to come into the sitting room. Jenny walked in first. She sat near the fireplace, where the light was low. Her face was calm, but her hands were closed tight in her lap. Liza came in after her, walking slowly, holding the hand of one of the dogs. Her red dress looked dull now, and her eyes had lost their shine. Uncle Robert stood by the door. He didn't want to sit. He just leaned against the wall, tired, almost defeated. David arrived last. His steps were heavy. He looked at the floor, not at anyone else. No one spoke. No one smiled. Everyone just sat and waited. Inspector West stood by the window. He looked at each of them, one by one. His eyes were calm but sharp. He had seen this moment many times before. The moment just before the truth stands up. The moment when a family becomes something else. A group of people with reasons, with regrets, with hidden pain. I want to speak with all of you, the inspector said slowly. I've asked many questions. I've heard many answers. And now I will tell you what I know. Someone killed Ellen Hart. She didn't die by accident. She didn't die from age. She died because someone gave her too many sleeping tablets. And that someone is in this room. The room stayed silent. Even the dogs didn't move. She was strong, the inspector continued. Strong in her voice. Strong in her rules. But she made enemies. Not outside, but here, in her own family. All of you needed something from her. And she said no. He turned to Robert first. You needed money. Your wife is sick. You're selling your house. You asked Ellen for help. And she refused. You were angry, but not enough to kill. I believe that. But I also believe that you closed your eyes to the pain around you. You saw the danger and said nothing. Then he looked at David. You lost your job. You didn't tell anyone. You wanted to build houses here. 10 homes. A business. A new start. But you needed Ellen to say yes. And she said no. Again and again. You asked her one last time that night. And she said no again. You felt small. You felt helpless. And now, she is gone. And the land is yours. It's hard not to look at that, isn't it? David's face turned red, but he didn't speak. Next, the inspector looked at Liza. Her head was down, her eyes staring at the floor. And you, he said softly. You said many things. You said you loved your father. You said your mother killed him in the car accident. You said she didn't love you. You said she always gave you money, but never gave you real love. You said you wanted to kill her. But you also said you didn't. That you couldn't. And I believe that too. Liza's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. But there is one more thing, the inspector said. We found the empty pill bottle in your room. Hidden. Under your clothes. Liza looked up. I didn't put it there. I know, the inspector replied. You didn't. Because someone else did. Someone clever. Someone quiet. Someone who knows where you keep your things. Someone who had a reason to make you look guilty. He turned now, slowly, toward the last person in the room. Jenny. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just looked at the inspector with calm, still eyes. You lived here, he said to her. You were with your mother every day. You cooked her food. You cleaned her room. You knew her habits. You picked up her medicine. You knew when she took her tablets. You knew how much was too much. Jenny said nothing. And you were the only one who knew Paul Hobbs would come to the house that night. You told him to come. You told him to speak loudly. You let him shout so everyone would hear him say he wanted to kill her. Still, she didn't speak. But her eyes began to shine now. Not with anger. Not with fear. With something else, something like pain. We searched Blake's farmhouse. The inspector continued. We found a picture of you there. A young version. With flowers in your hands. With love in your eyes. You used to smile like that, didn't you? Jenny blinked. You loved him. And he loved you. But your mother said no. She said no to everything that made you happy. She controlled your life. She said you were nothing without her. But you weren't nothing. You were tired. You were broken. You were done waiting. He walked closer now. Very gently. You put the tablets in her milk. You watched her drink it. You waited. Then you placed the empty bottle in Liza's room. You wanted the story to look right. Loud daughter. Angry boy. Shouting in the kitchen. But you forgot one thing. Jenny looked up. We never told you it was in Liza's bag. We said it was in her room. But you said bag. That was the mistake. That was the moment I knew it was you. The room was still. Then Jenny stood up. Her voice was soft. She never let me choose my life. She told me I would be nothing without her. I gave her everything. My time. My dreams. My love. She gave me control. Orders. Cold silence. I watched my life disappear, day by day. And Tom was the only light I had. She took that from me too. She looked at Liza, then at David. You all wanted something from her. But I was the only one who stayed. I cleaned her mess. I kept her secrets. And she gave me nothing. Jenny didn't cry. Her voice didn't rise. But the pain in it made everyone feel cold. The inspector stepped back. Sergeant Lewis moved toward her. Jenny didn't fight. She just turned and walked with him. As the door closed behind them, no one in the room moved. Not for a long time. Outside, the rain began to fall. Soft at first, then harder. It was over. Chapter 12. The Price of a Mother's No. The rain kept falling all night. The drops tapped on the windows like small fingers, as if the sky was also crying with the family. Inside the house, everything was quiet again, but it was not the same kind of quiet. This silence felt deep. It was not peaceful. It was heavy, like a blanket made of sorrow and shame. The truth was out now, and it had changed everything. The person they trusted the most, the one who stayed close to their mother, was the one who had taken her life. Jenny, the oldest daughter, the one who always followed the rules, the one who said the least, the one who did the most. She was gone now, taken away by the police. But her actions stayed behind like broken glass on the floor. No one knew how to move without getting hurt again. David sat in the dining room, his head in his hands. He didn't say anything. The same man who always had big ideas, who talked about houses and plans and land, now had no words. He had spent so long trying to prove he could be something, trying to win his mother's approval, trying to build something of his own. But she had always said no. No to money, no to support, no to belief. And now, there was nothing left to fight for. The land was his. But at what cost? His mother was dead. His sister was in jail. His dreams no longer felt big. They just felt cold. Liza walked slowly through the hallway. She touched the walls with her fingers as she moved. The walls still smelled like her childhood, like her father's aftershave, and the lemon soap in the bathroom, and the flowers that used to sit by the front door. But those days were gone. She had shouted at her mother that night. She had wanted to scare her. She had even said she wanted her dead. But she didn't mean it. Not truly. She just wanted to be heard, to be seen. But no one listened. Not then. And now it was too late. Her voice had become dangerous. And even though she didn't kill anyone, the pain in her words had echoed through the whole house. She thought about Jenny, her quiet, careful sister, and how none of them had seen her pain. Uncle Robert stood by the kitchen door. He was holding a cup of tea, but he didn't drink it. His hands were shaking. He kept thinking about Ellen, his sister, the strong one, the one who had always acted like she didn't need anyone. But she did need people. She just didn't know how to show it. She said no so often, maybe because she thought that saying yes was a sign of weakness. Maybe because she had been hurt before. Maybe she believed that if she gave too much, people would take everything. So, she gave nothing. Not to David. Not to Liza. Not to Jenny. And now, her no had become her end. Robert sighed and sat down slowly. His heart ached for everyone in the house. But most of all, he felt sorry for Jenny. Tom Blake sat alone in his little farmhouse. He had not spoken to Jenny for years, but he still remembered her smile. The way her eyes looked brighter in the sunlight. They had loved each other once, but her mother had ended it. Said it wasn't right. Said Tom wasn't good enough. Said love didn't matter. That money and name were more important. Tom had walked away because he thought Jenny agreed. But now he understood. Jenny never agreed. She had only obeyed. He wondered how her life might have been different if Ellen had said yes to love instead of no. Maybe Jenny would have been happy. Maybe she would have been free. Maybe she would not be in jail now, with her life broken. The thought made Tom close his eyes in pain. The next morning, the sun came out again, but it didn't feel warm. The police left the house. The reporters stopped calling. The neighbors whispered, but from a distance. The Hart family had become something strange. Not heroes. Not victims. Not criminals. Just people caught in the storm of a mother's control and a daughter's silent cry for freedom. The house felt empty. Ellen's things were still there. Her books, her favorite chair, her perfume on the dresser. But her voice, her power, her presence, they were all gone. And what was left was something no one wanted to touch: the cost of her choices. At the small village church, a quiet funeral was held. Few people came, some out of respect, some out of curiosity, some out of guilt. David read a short message. His voice cracked once, but he kept going. Liza placed a white rose on the coffin. She whispered something no one else could hear. Uncle Robert stood by the back wall and didn't move at all. Jenny, of course, wasn't there. She watched from a small screen inside the prison walls. Her eyes didn't cry. They had already cried too much. That night, back in the house, David made tea for Liza and Robert. No one talked much, but something felt different. Softer, slower. They were not close before, but now they had to be, because they were the only ones left. The ones who didn't leave. The ones who didn't kill. The ones who still had time to heal. Liza looked at David and said, "Do you think things will ever feel normal again?" David looked at her, then at the ceiling. "No," he said, "but maybe they can feel new." In her cell, Jenny wrote a letter. To Tom. To David. To Liza. To herself. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't blame anyone. She just wrote the truth. That love should never be locked in a cage. That power should never be used as punishment. That saying no is not always strength. And that silence, when it comes from deep pain, can turn into something dangerous. She ended the letter with one line. A mother's no can echo forever or end everything. The next morning, David received the letter. He read it once, then again. Then he sat down and began to cry. Not loudly, not in anger, just quietly, like a boy who had finally understood what it meant to lose something you never really had. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. The house was still, and the question still remained: love or money? Which one would have saved them?